Could this be the best new horror movie of 2021? I'm thinking it might just be. I'm doing a spoiler-free review of The Queen of Black Magic. Hey Twisted people, it's your Twisted Woman here, Chauncey K. Robinson, and today I am doing a spoiler-free review of the movie The Queen of Black Magic that is coming exclusively to the streaming horror service SHUDDER. In The Queen of Black Magic, a family travels to the distant rural orphanage where the father was raised to pay their respects to the facility's gravely ill director. But his and his best friend's homecoming turns into a terrifying supernatural ordeal that threatens their and their family's lives. Someone is using dark magic to avenge evil deeds, long buried but not forgotten. This film is a reimagining of the 1981 Indonesian horror classic of the same name. This film is intense. Oh my gosh. This film is intense. But I really want to challenge you to watch this film on SHUDDER and do it late at night. Do it with the lights off. And tell me you're not a bit freaked out by some of the scenes that happen in this movie. And I say that as someone who at times, as a horror movie lover, can be somewhat desensitized to so many horror films, especially ones with gore and things like that, where it's like, oh yeah, someone's eyes popped out, sure. But I feel like this movie, what it did that truly had it so that the gore, because there is gore, there is some horror gore going on in this movie, is that it earned it. It earned it with great storytelling. And I think that is key for a horror film. I know some people are like, oh, that was a cool jump scare or something like that when it comes to certain films. But to me, a really great horror film is something that earns the fear that you, as the audience, they want to instill in you through a really great build-up or weaving of a story that puts the fear in context. And I think this movie, The Queen of Black Magic, does such a great job in doing that. So much so where it's a story that stays with you. It's a story that builds up and it delivers when it builds up. It's not one of those things like all of that and this is the climax. No. The climax was earned. The kills were earned. The scary moments were earned. And that's sometimes very rare. I mean, I've watched horror films where the story is really, really good and some of the actual fear scenes and scare scenes are like, oh, okay, but this was a really good story. And in some cases, it's like, okay, that's some really cool practical effects and gore, but this story is so lacking. So it was a breath of fresh air to start 2021 with this film that definitely culminates all of that in such a effective movie. There's even a bit of social commentary in here. Not so much. Don't worry, not so much. We're not going to jump on our soapbox right now. But there is some social commentary within the characters and the way they live. Because you have some characters who are still at the orphanage. That is the central focus of this movie. And you have some who moved on, had good lives and things like that. And it deals with some of the socioeconomic burdens that some still face versus the ones who got to escape from it. And it touches on it a little bit, not so much so, but just enough that it gives some flavor to the characters and their motivations and what they're trying to convey and their goals throughout the movie with certain characters. And it does it very well by playing on that with the film. Is this movie scary? Yes, this movie is scary. I was scared. There were some moments when I honestly jumped, where I was like, I'm a little freaked out. Now, I will say that one of the things that it does in retrospect of thinking about what was played upon is that it pulls on a lot of other, I'm not going to say horror tropes, but a lot of other horror moments, maybe in other films, and it kind of brings it into this film and reimagines it or remixes it in a way and makes it its own for sure. But you'll see certain moments where you'll be like, okay, that reminded me of this other movie that I saw, but this was really effective. Or this moment reminded me of this other movie I saw, but that was really effective. It has really cool folklore for the culture. I think that's another great aspect of this movie, that it's not your average westernized sort of horror film. And I think we need more of those from different cultures because there's so much to mine when it comes to stories of different places that can bring fear across the board, across cultures. And I think this is an example of that. With that said, this movie is subtitles. I'm not sure when you watch it on Shudder if you can get it dubbed. I wouldn't do that necessarily for this film. I think it works just fine with subtitles. You'll do some reading, but it's not going to be so distracting that you miss things if it's not your native language, what they're speaking in the film. Now, with all of that said, I will say there are moments in this film where some characters make decisions that just aren't very smart. Not smart, like obviously not smart, like, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? Why haven't you looked there? What are you doing? But it's not so excessive where it is distracting from the plot or has you thinking, oh my gosh, none of this would be happening if this character just did that. Not at all. This plot would totally still be happening no matter what some of the decisions some of these characters made, which I think makes it even more effective. One of the trigger warnings for this film is bugs. There are bugs. Oh my gosh, there are so many bugs. If bugs are something that freak you out, more so when bugs are on humans or under skin or in body, crawling out of body, all of that, you're not gonna like this film. Another trigger warning is child death. And the third trigger warning, which is alluded to but not shown, is sexual abuse. And finally, I will say that in watching The Queen of Black Magic, the modernized version of it, it really made me want to check out the 1981 version, which I heard was just as wild and crazy. So if anything else, this is a good plus of this film that it's kind of a gateway to perhaps checking out another cool horror classic. My final twisted grade for The Queen of Black Magic is A+. Okay, Twisted people, so that is my spoiler-free review of The Queen of Black Magic, now playing exclusively on the horror streaming service Shudder. Let me know what you think of it once you watch it, what you think of non-Western horror films and some that you might recommend. Let me know in the comments, and also be sure to subscribe so that you are the first to know when I post my videos. Thanks for watching. Let's get creepy together.